So this Craftsman LT2000, as you can see, I've had this for a few years now. I bought it not running. All it really needed was carburetor work, which I bought a new one, slapped it on. And as you can see, there are some pieces that are not stock Craftsman. I decided to add front suspension to it with limiting straps. And what I did, I took the axle, cut it in half, shortened it about, took an inch out of the center really, and then, you can't really see it, there's 2 bolts in there, and that's the pivot point. If I could go back and redo it, I'd put the shock closer to here. Right now the springs are really compressed, and I got them at the maximum preload, and as you can kind of see, tires are flat, but it has camber when you're just riding it around. Added this link here, stabilized the axle front to back. I made this, I can't see it well, strut tower if you will, shock tower. Same thing on the other side. And I've rode it like that for a couple of years and added a throttle here to the gear shift. Throttle cable goes around, connects to the other side. It's not governed anymore. I need to add a different steering link because that's the stock one, and I've hit too many jumps and everything, and it's bent it pretty good. A pulley swap. I think it's a 5-inch and a 5-inch on the transaxle too. As you can see, I got a set of 4-wheeler tires on the back. Welded the diff. It's somewhat link and lock. It can still, each side can still rotate independent from each other, like quarter turn or so before it locks. And as you can see, I decided to add rear suspension to it. And this is just to see if it works. I plan on revamping this in the future. But I did angle iron with a bolt through the frame, lock washer, have it enough so it can pivot. I came back to the mounting on the transmission from stock, and I welded it to piece of 2-inch plate and used the same stock bolting bolt holes for the transmission. I have these plates here, the stock mounting plates, just for right now. Same thing on the other side. And then I have a 10-inch long go-kart shock. Front claims it's a front shock. With a preload, it's set at the minimum right now. And I tested it, and it actually works. I still keep belt tension, which is good. I haven't driven it yet. I just bounced on it a few times. The brake lever and clutch lever, I gotta massage that and move that because it hits the frame when you go all the way down or when the suspension kind of bottoms out, and it hits when the clutch is fully engaged and brake is set. I got a piece coming in the mail. It is, I'm going to call it a track bar. I'm going to make a piece, I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to make a piece that comes off of this, comes off of somewhere, and mounts to the frame. So it'll locate the rear end so it doesn't go side to side. Right now, it somewhat does. And then I got to figure out how to get rid of this body roll. It's a single shock setup, so all the pivot is happening on these rubber bushings. Because you put all your weight on it, it leans right over and touches the tire. You can see it. It rocks pretty good. So, my welds are awful, but that's okay, it works. So, I'm waiting for that piece to come in so I can mock that up, weld that in, and then take this thing on its first voyage with rear suspension. These I'm going to cut off. I left them on there just in case I needed the extra length on them. I originally was going to take the cover, leave the cover on, which has your hitch and everything. It usually goes on just like that. I was going to leave that on, have these come out, take a piece of 1x1 box tubing, go from here to here, then mount the shock there, and have it mount to that back piece. But it would have gotten away with the hitch, and I still want to use the hitch. I have a little cart that I like to use around the house. But anyways, I'm leaving these on for the time being. They're not hurting anything. There's still room. And these tires, they're stock size tires. Can't find the size. Oh, there it is. 20 by 11 by 8. And they went on pretty nice, and they're pretty gnarly. I gotta do something with the front. I want to get a larger tire for the front. Right now, it's kind of got a rake to it, probably because the tires are flat. Another thing I'd like to do to this is maybe do a foot throttle at some point. Maybe do an independent brake pedal or brake lever at some point. Because on these, the more you press the clutch in, the more it engages the brake. I'd like to make those independent from one another at some point. So I think this is pretty cool. I've searched all the forums, everything, and no one's done rear suspension on a lawnmower using the stock transmission, the stock everything, pretty much. No one's ever done it. I wanted to set out to try and do it. I know people have done this before. A lot of people do a solid axle and they do the links, but there was only couple other people that did an independent front suspension, which it does nice, and there's a lot of travel to this, but like I said, it doesn't have enough preload to keep the front end up when you're just cruising around. If it was an A-arm style instead of a beam style, you probably wouldn't have that problem. So this is my Craftsman. I've had for a few years. I love it. It's a riot. It's funny. People get a kick out of it. I'm going to get a new seat for it, something that holds you in a little bit better so you don't slide off the side, something that, keeps your ass in the seat. And that is it for this video. Once I get those parts in, make up that track bar, take it out for a first rip. If there's not a lot of snow, try and figure out this body roll issue, see how much of an issue it is when actual riding, and then take it all apart, paint it, or make it better. I'd like to get some small heim joints instead of just this. It's pretty crude, but again, I just wanted to see if it would work. Gotta mess with that brake issue over there, the clutch brake issue. Like to put some rod ends on there, go into a piece of pipe, and then retain the angle iron. Have it in there welded just inside this channel, the angle iron. Keep the strength of that. Because I didn't have a lot of room to play with in there. I was nervous about the links hitting the tires, the arms, or whatever you want to call them. I got this mounted to the transmission. I got, utilizing the bolts for the two halves, and then I put a piece down here, doesn't want to focus, underneath that to kind of act as a leg for all the pressure that's going to be downward on this. And we'll try this version and see how it works. And correct me if I'm wrong, no one else has done this before. I've seen a guy come off the back of the tractor and have a shock here and have it mounted to a seat. So you had suspension, but the machine did not. So we'll see how it goes. And sorry for the poor camera work. This is my first time taking a video with something like this and explaining it all on camera. So hopefully you like it. Comment, give me your opinion, give me your thoughts. I'd be curious to hear them and whatnot. Hopefully soon I'll be posting another video. Thanks. Have a good day.